Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today. Today we are going to be switching the brake pads out on this 2019 Dodge Ram. As you can see, we have a safety bolt, or anti-lock, whatever you want to call it. What you got to do is make sure that sits in there before you lift the truck to do your brakes. Always crack them loose. You might need a breaker bar. Hopefully we can do it just with this. Make sure it's on reverse. Yep. Yeah, that turned. And there. Now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and lift the vehicle. We should be able to see the frame pretty easily under there, but I will show you where. We'll lift it with the jack and put it on the jack stand. First thing you want to do is chuck your front tire. Take a piece of lumber or whatever you got, shove it in that tire to make sure you have no rollaway. Once you've gone ahead and done that, we come over here. We jack up the vehicle just in front of this body mount. As you can see, if this is what the underside of your truck looks like, jack it up there. Put a nice sturdy truck jack stand, not your just old wimpy car jack stand. After you've done that, you've gone ahead and thrown that in there. I always leave both here. Make sure it's sitting on the jack, but you have your jack right here and it's holding it. Anyways, what we're gonna do, we're gonna come over here. We're gonna quickly rip out the lugs that we've already loosened. Pull them out, put the tire off to the side. Make sure you don't go too high off the ground. If you go too high off the ground, you might think, oh wow, now I can make sure I can at least get the tire off a lot easier. It'll actually be harder because these are usually not the lightest tires. Go ahead, out. You might have to smack the tire like that with your hand, lift it off and put it over there. Alright, so to do this, hit start. Do not put your foot on the brake yet. Hit start, bring it to ACC, then hit it one more time to bring it to run. After you do that, you're going to hit settings. I just want to start it from the beginning for you. Settings. Over here is brakes. Well, not lights. From there, auto parking brake, I turned it off. And then we go to brake service, would you root less? We're doing a brake service right now. Our park brake retracted. Back into the brake caliper is your 12 mil. Make sure you're on off. Righty tighty lefty loosey, except for the fact it's backwards on you. So just go ahead, go like this and loosen. I like to loosen both first, and that's just both these caliper pins right here, sliders, whatever you want to call them. And I'll show you something real fun that we're going to do with those sliders to make sure that you don't get squeak, or it should help against squeak. I shouldn't say take it away because there's always a chance. So just go ahead, take this off of here. That is how you know your parking brake is retracted. Now you can go ahead, put this guy right here if you want. Just make sure she don't fall, and we can pull those old pads off. Be careful. Do not use any sort of metal pry tool between the brake pad and the rotor if you're not replacing the rotors, because you will score the rotor, which will be bad news. What you want to do is come over here and see if we can just wiggle them. Look at this. Those pads were done. Put that off to the side. These are the retaining rings. Just pull them out. There you go. Be careful not to cut yourself, but you should be able to do that. Now leave these here so you remember the order, but a lot of these brake pads will come with brand new sliders. Make sure you replace those sliders right here, that the brake pad or retainers, whatever you want to call them, and that's just going to make sure that they move along smoothly. Next, from the inside here, if you want to do this, pull out. What this will do is pull your pins out. I always like to clean these pins and then use some brake lubricant and clean these up. So now go ahead, wipe all that black off, and go ahead, if you have some Permatex, you can buy it, some silicone ceramic brake lubricant, and we're gonna basically dip, or I usually just take the little brush in here and just brush brand new lubricant all over these, just to keep our sliders well lubricated. Like I said, just pull this back. You can remove the rubber if you want to go that deep into it, but all you do is go like that, and then take this brake lubricant and brush it all up in here. You want this nice and lubed up, just like that. Okay, now that you've gone ahead and done that, you've lubed it up like so, go ahead. You'll see some will pee out because that's just what it does. Put a cloth there to catch it if you can, and just pump it and make sure it goes nice and smooth. As we can see, it is. We're just going to pump it into the system, in and out, and we are doing good. Now pull up the other one and do the exact same thing. Now that we've done that portion, let's go ahead and fold these up. Just like that. This one right here. Just like that. Pull them off one at a time. Match them with the ones that come with your brake pads exactly to the ones that are in here. That way there's no chance of putting the wrong ones in. The good news is these look exactly the same. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about you accidentally putting them on the wrong edge. They just go like this, slide this up, and then you can go ahead if you want and clean this area just to make sure it sits flush. Pretty easy, just like this. After you've done so, you can also use brake clean, by the way, but make sure you have a bucket to catch it and use it in a well ventilated area, because if you don't, yes, you will experience fun times. And then all we gotta do is bring this in on an angle, just like that. Oh, let's see if we can get it here. There we go. I usually grab the tip on there. There we go. And then now you move it forward, and you might have to use your little pry tool that you used to get it on, just to bring this onto here a little bit, just like that. And let's see, haha, right there. And again, make sure it sits flush, just like that. Do the same to up here. Just make sure that she is sitting completely flush, up and down. You don't want any peaks in the center. All right, once we've gone ahead, we've made sure this is sitting flush, you can go ahead and unwrap your brake pads. You'll notice that probably two of these sides have squealers. Let's see, usually, yeah, see how the two top ones have squealers? The squealer goes to the back, and then the other pad goes to the front. Once I pull this out, you'll see what I mean. One's got that little piece sticking out, and that is your squealer. All right, so important, don't get any of this on the rotor. What you want to do is just the back of the pad, and then the sliders. Make sure you get it in here. I usually just lubricate this, and it lubricates the slider. Some people will actually try to lubricate in here. That's too close to the rotor for my liking. I'll leave it up to you. This is the back pad. You can tell by the squealer. Just go ahead, and you're gonna make a mess of your hands, I'm almost sure, but you hold it and you squeeze it in. I'll show you more about squeezing it in on the front pad, because this one will be too hard. All right, that pad's now in place. Now for the front pad. Again, you can tell this is a rear pad because it has that piece on there. All you do is go just like this, and after you do that, again, important note, put it on the sliders, put it on here, don't put it on the rotor, and don't put it on the front surface. If you do, if you survive long enough for it to burn off, good on you, but we'll just say that most people don't. Lubricating your brakes is the opposite of braking on padded surfaces. There. Now we've gone ahead, we've done that, we've squeezed them together. We now have the front and the rear installed. Now you want to grab your retainer rings. Your retainer rings, hard for me to show you, but on the pad you'll find a hole in the metal. that's where you put these retainer rings. So you just put one in one side, one into the other, and it just sits just like that. That is how the retainer rings sit. Now that we've gone ahead, beautiful setup now, let's go ahead and take our caliper. We've got to go ahead and we've got to back this off. Well, you're like, how do we do that? Well, we need the tool right there. I'll show you how that works. So you just line it up right here, line it up in the center, make sure it's not cockeyed, and you just slowly twist this. Now, if for some reason you're like, oh man, now I don't have enough room because maybe you bought a smaller one, I'll tell you a trick. You can take an old brake pad, put the old brake pad back on here, and make sure that you press against the pad side, not pushing the pad side into there, because that's a foreign surface. Anyways, just go ahead, start tightening as you do. See how the piston's going back in? You can go ahead, see that dirt on there? You can go ahead and wipe this first. That way you're not forcing any dirt back into the drum, or I shouldn't even say the drum, I should say the piston, sorry. This is just another day on the block. All right, just slip this back in, and you'll see it's slowly retracting as we do it. You will feel it cap out. You need to do this because the last time this braking system was used, your brake pads were much smaller and worn down. Going a little bit off center, I don't like that, so right there, we're almost there anyway. If you go to do this and your parking brake is disabled and yours is really tough, and you're like, one, double check your parking brake on the other side, but do not press the brakes, whatever you do, because you don't want this to come out anymore. But if this is like, you know it's been disengaged because you just slid it off the rear, but when you try to do this, it won't move. It means you have a seized caliper. If you have a seized caliper, then you've got a little bit more fun on your hands because you need a new caliper. You can try giving it a little bit of pressure to save it, but you never know. Anyways, we don't have a seized caliper. You can see it's fully receded now, and all we got to do now, you'll feel it lock up. Do not go and, no, you should never need to do that. You'll feel that it goes in smooth and then it stops. Back off your piece right there, and then we'll go ahead and watch this. We might have to hold our sliders in, but you take it and you slide it back on, just over the sliders. Go just like that. Blue Loctite, just a strip right along the center. Not red. Do not do it with red, unless you never want to change your brakes again. So just go ahead, thread these in. Leave that one loose. Come down here, line it up. Perfect. What's good about Loctite, people will say, oh, that's a little overkill for on here. One, if you've ever lost a caliper bolt when you're on the trail, then you won't say that anymore. Two, I'm just going to tighten these up with this, but the torque spec you want to go for is about 20 foot-pounds. So what I like to do is just do that, do this, perfect. Now take this off. I do have my torque wrench, which I'm going to drop this, the 12, and then we're going to go power. I just set this up, torque zeroing, 20 foot-pounds. Then that one's at 20. Perfect. Now that we know our pins are, well, it says 21, whatever. Again, 22 is your range, 20 to, I'd say 20 to 25. As long as you get it in between 20 to 25, you're set. Now that we've got those in, we can go ahead and just double check everything. I think we're good. Slide the tire back on, and then just cinch down the bolts. Don't give it really any torque spec, but get them cinched down so that way when we drop this, we can torque them once they're on the ground. Again, lift it up and on. This is exactly why you don't want to leave it too much. See the way that I'm screwing this in? This is how you're going to tighten your bolts when it's on the ground and when you're putting slight torque on it, which is in a star pattern. Just go ahead and do this. I figure it's easier to show you like this so you don't have to track anything. You can just follow my hand movements. And right here. Now you see, I've got the cheater one. I just set this to a truck, which is my second setting right here. And all I do is I put it on and I go. And then I sink these down. And now that we've done the first sit down, now you would drop your jack first, but for me, on the other hand, I just go. And then I can jump over here. Or over here, doesn't matter. Just keep your star pattern going. This one's more the Star of David. And then that's it. Just go ahead, you can do one more pass if you want. First three, and then the next three. There you go. And I'll double check mine. For a truck, I do about 100 foot-pounds on these lugs just to make sure that you're good. Some will say, go to 120. Some will say, don't go past 80. Pick your poison. 100 is pretty good for a truck. All right, rather than making you suffer through watching me do the fronts and rears on this, I'm not gonna bother showing the fronts. Why? It is the exact same as the rears. There's nothing different except for that had the parking brake, this doesn't. Meaning, when you go ahead and do this, if you wanted to do the rears first, you can then re-engage your parking brake, and then you don't really have to chuck the wheels because the parking brake will hold it. If you're worried about it failing, just when you do your rears afterwards, move the blocks to the rear and then go ahead and then take your front tires off. Again, you're just compressing the piston, sliding the pads in. It's super easy. Just use your retainers and go from there. I hope this helped you out. Thanks again for watching. Press a like if it helped you out and subscribe for more. Last thing, make sure you go here, go back to run, and then it'll probably pop up on this screen. We'll see if it does. Brake, parking brake retracted to reset. Press brake pedal to activate parking brake switch. So pump your brakes a couple times. You'll notice when you first press them, they're gonna go right to the floor. After that, pump it, and then, as you can see, it's not gonna engage because we have it on service mode. Parking brake retracted to reset. Press brake pedal and activate parking brake switch. Press brake, activate. Oh. There we go. Parking brake reset. Brake service complete. And that's how you do it. Again, the way that we did it was just hitting settings, brake service, it'll tell you, and then from there, as soon as it pops up with the warning message with the X, you just leave it alone, turn off the truck, go and do your thing, and then ta-da, Bob's your uncle. Let's see. If we go to leave, will it engage? Oh no, because I turned off the auto. You can turn that back on if you like. If you don't like that auto parking brake, all it would be is settings, brakes, auto parking brake, and turn it back on. That's all it would be.